Hi, today I am going to read our story, Henry and Mudge, and it is the first story in our Journeys reading books. So it is lesson 1, and this is what we call our anchor text, which means it's the main story that we're going to be reading throughout the next few days. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this story before I read it. One of the things that the stories like us to do is they like us to meet the author and the illustrator. So we're going to talk about the author first, who is Cynthia Rylant. And it says that Henry and Mudge have starred in more than 25 books by Cynthia Rylant, a musical based on their adventures once toured the United States. The part of Mudge was played by a grown man in a dog costume. We're also going to meet the illustrator, who is Susie Stevenson. Susie Stevenson loves drawing the character of Mudge. In fact, she has 2 big dogs of her own. They don't drool as much as Mudge, she says. Now, again, before I read this story, I want to talk about what kind of story it is. So over here in our books, we have a section of the story. It's called the genre. And so this is what tells you what kind of story that you're going to read. Genre means like type. So the genre of this story, or the type of story we're going to read right now, is realistic fiction. Realistic fiction has the word real in it. And I want you to think about that for a second. It has something real in it. Fiction means fake. So a realistic fiction story is a story that could happen in real life. So it means it's like a real life story, but it is still fake. It's still make-believe. And as we read through stories like this, we might find characters who act like real people, or we might hear of some story events, some things that happen in the story that could really happen to you, or it could happen to somebody you know. Sometimes when we read through realistic fiction stories, they take place in a city or a town or at a place that we know, we're familiar with, and it's a real place. Or there might be some character names that sound just like people that we know. So that's what makes it realistic. It could be real, but it's still fiction, so it is still a make-believe story. It's just a fun make-believe story. Now, also with our stories, we have an essential question, just like we do with the rest of our lessons. So we will read through the essential question, and we won't answer it right away, but we'll talk through it as we go along through our story, and we can think about how to answer our essential question, or what kind of answer we can have for our essential question. So the essential question that we have for Henry and Mudge is, what is a perfect pet like? And we can think about that as we go through our story. So right now, all I'd like you to do is just follow along. Henry had no brothers and no sisters. "I want a brother," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no friends on his street. "I want to live on a different street," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no pets at home. "I want to have a dog," he told his parents. "Sorry," they almost said. But first they looked at their house with no brothers and sisters. Then they looked at their street with no children. Then they looked at Henry's face. Then they looked at each other. "Okay," they said. "I want to hug you," Henry told his parents. And he did. Henry searched for a dog. "Not just any dog," said Henry. "Not a short one," he said. "Not a curly one," he said. "And no pointed ears." Then he found Mudge. Mudge had floppy ears, not pointed. And Mudge had straight fur, not curly. But Mudge was short. "Because he's a puppy," Henry said. "He'll grow." And did he ever? He grew out of his puppy cage. He grew out of his dog cage. He grew out of 7 collars in a row. And when he finally stopped growing, he weighed 180 pounds. He stood 3 feet tall, and he drooled. "I'm glad you're not short," Henry said. And Mudge licked him, then sat on him. Now, that's the end of our story for today. If you would like to go back and listen to this story again, you can always replay the video. We will read through this story again a couple of times so that it stays in our brain, and we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about vocabulary words that are in the story. We'll answer some questions and talk about some story things. So we will be going through the story again, but anytime you want to listen to it, feel free to go back into the video and listen to it again. So thank you for listening right now, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.